crack at Supreme Court as retiring justice alleges abuse of power by CJN. Wow. So we know that definitely there will be abuse of power. Okay. The same way it has been in other parastatals. Nigerians are not good with power. I get yes, a lot of Nigerians in position are not good with power. The same way that the politicians are also abusing their political powers in political offices. Okay. So now in the judiciary sector as well, or judicial sector, they are also alleging abuse of power by the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Okay, so let's dive into the details to understand what is happening. There appears to be a crack at the Supreme Court barely 24 hours after it validated the election of President Bola Tinubu of the ruling All Progressive Congress APC. A retiring justice of the court, Musa Datijo Muhammad, who reportedly pulled out from the 7-man panel that dismissed all the appeals that sought to remove President Bola Tinubu from office, has accused the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN Justice Olukayode Ariwola, of abusing powers of his office. Justice Muhammad, who spent 47 years in active judicial service, bowed out of the Apex Court bench on Friday, having clocked the 70 years mandatory retirement age. He used the opportunity of a valedictory session that was organized in his honor by the Supreme Court to address what he observed as rots in the judiciary that have continued to affect the justice delivery system in the country. Through the years, I rose to become the second most senior justice of the country's Apex Court and deputy chairperson of the National Judicial Commission. Considering the number of years I have spent in judicial service and the position I have attained by the grace of the Almighty, I feel obligated to continue the struggle for reforms for a better judiciary. I will be leaning on the earlier submissions of those who had exited before me. Okay, Justice Muhammad stated before he descended on the CJN. He maintained that the judiciary, as presently structured, gave so much power to the CJN, who he said usually take decisions without consulting other justices. Abi, the same way the Senate President is beginning to do. So as presently structured, the CJN is chairman of the Nigerian Judicial Commission, which oversees both the appointment and discipline of judges. He is equally chair of the Federal Judicial Service Commission, the National Judicial Institute, the Legal Practitioners Privilege Committee that appoints Senior Advocate of Nigeria. So in my considered opinion, the oversight function of these bodies should not rest on an individual alone. A person with absolute powers, it is said, corrupts easily and absolutely. So as chair of NJC, FJSC, NJI, and LPPC, appointments as council, board, and commitment members are at his pleasure. He neither confers with fellow justices nor seeks their counsel or imputes on any matter related to these bodies. So he has both the final and the only say. The CJN has powers to appoint 80% of members of the council and 60% of members of FJSC. The same applies to NJI and LPPC. Such enormous powers are effortlessly abused. These need to change. Continued denial of the existence of this threatening anomaly weakens effective judicial oversight in the country, he added. So on the current composition of the bench of the Apex Court, Justice Muhammad alleged that the refusal to fill the vacant slot of Southeast on the Apex Court bench was deliberate, blaming it on absolute powers vested in the office of the CJN. So you see where the corruption comes in there. So obviously, the bench is supposed to have representation by justices from various regions, the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. but that of Southeast had been vacant, and the CJN has refused to fill it because they don't want Igbo man there. I think Hausa man is revealing this information now, and it's a very bad system that's in place, and simply because the CJN has absolute powers to do and undo. So he stressed, okay, he further stressed that with his retirement, the North Central Zone, which he represented, would no longer have a justice on the Supreme Court bench. My Lord Honorable Justice Ejembi Eko, JSC, who also represented the zone, retired in 23rd of May 2022. It has been a year and 5 months now. There has not been any replacement. So with the passing of my Lord Honorable Justice Chima Sentu Sumeze, JSC, on 29 July 2023, the Southeast no longer has any presence at the Supreme Court now. So my Honorable Justice Sylvester Nwale Nguta, JSV, died on 7th March 2021. There has not been any appointment in his stead for the Southeast. So as it stands, only 4 geopolitical regions, the Southwest, South, Northwest, and Northeast, are represented in the Supreme Court. Very bad system. So they purposely did not want to fill those positions because those positions will challenge the activities of the CJN, I tell you, and that is bad. So with all those subgroups or sub-sections that are headed by CJN, they need to decentralize that and have their own sand to cover them. I mean it. Otherwise, and that is why there's miscarriage of justice within the judiciary. So while the South and the Northeast have 2 serving justices, the Northwest and Southwest are fully represented with 3 each. So appropriate steps should be made or should have been taken since to fill outstanding vacancies in the Apex Court. Why have these steps not been timely taken? Now, wow. And why is he saying it after retirement? Why didn't he challenge it before retirement? Well, but it's better that he has said it. Not saying it at all would have been the worst. So it is evident that the decision not to fill the vacancies in the court is deliberate. It is all about the absolute powers vested in the office of the CJN and the responsible exercise of same, the retiring justice jurist added. So on the issue of membership of the panel that headed the presidential election petition, election appeal by candidates of the People Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and the Labour Party, Peter Obi, Justice Mohammed said, to ensure justice and transparency in presidential appeals from the lower court, all geopolitical zones are required to participate in the hearing. So it is therefore dangerous for democracy and equity for 2 entire regions to be left out in the decision that will affect the generality of Nigerians. This is bad. This is not what our laws envisage, although it can be posited that no one expected the sudden passing of Honorable Justice Nweze JSC, yet it has been 2 years and 7 months since previous justice from Southeast died and no appointment was made. And this is bad. So on funding and independence of the judiciary, the retiring justice bemoaned that though the budgetary allocation for the judiciary increased from 70 billion that it was in 2015 to 165 billion presently, justices and officers' welfare and the quality of service the judiciary render have continued to decline. This is a very bad situation, I tell you. It's a very bad situation. But not having all the geopolitical zones properly represented is a bad one as well. There are a lot here that this man said as he's going, but unfortunately, who will bail the cat? This situation is going to continue with impunity as long as APC is in power and APC is determining who goes into the Supreme Court and who does not. So there is a deliberate plan And that is what is being done now, not to have those geopolitical zones properly represented in the Supreme Court. Otherwise, some of the impunity going on will not go on. And I'm sure it was done deliberately for these people to have their way through. It's a very bad antecedent, very bad precedent that has been set now. I don't know how that will be corrected. So thank you for listening, and let's have your comment over what Justice Datijo is saying now at the point of retirement at the age of 70.